All right, so how you doing today? Today we're going to be doing a course on the Logic drummers. These work in GarageBand too. They're very similar programs, but I'm on Logic Pro here. And there's all kind of really cool stuff you can do with these drummers. So we're going to be going over some of that stuff today, just as a quick overview. We got lots of acoustic kits. We got electronic kits. We got percussion kits. We got all kind of drummers up here that we can play around with. They all play different kits. It's really cool software program built into Logic, if you will. We'll talk about some of these nice fine details down here, ways to customize your drum kit, ways to play it along with different instruments, presets over here. Take a look at some of the hip-hop drum kits and electronic drum kits for dance music, and the percussion kits, and all kind of really cool stuff. So this video is kind of like a kind of just watch all the way through, and then I have a timestamp down below as well where you could skip ahead to different parts, but it's best to watch it all the way through because in parts of the video, further parts of the video, I talk about things I talked about previously in the video, so it's best, you know, just to know what I'm talking about, to watch it all the way through. Then you can go back and check the time markers and stuff like that, and it's great for learning this really in-depth program of Logic, which is really crazy. Really lots of fun and whatever. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so to start here, we can start by adding a drummer. Right now I have a bass track just thrown down just because I'm going to show you something here with that in a minute. But let's say we want to add our drummer here, and we're just going to pick the drummer track, and we have different genres here. We have rock, we have alternative, we have songwriter, we have R&B, we have electronic, we have hip hop, and we have percussion players. And each one of these has different drummers. You know, some of them have more drummers than others, but it's a really cool way to get you started. Let's say you're doing like an alternative rock song or whatever. Let's just start with rock. And we can change the drummer after the fact as well. We're going to create the drummer, and by default, it's going to give us an 8-bar pattern here, and we can add more just by clicking there and click more. We can make these shorter if we want to. We can make them longer if we want to. And I just erased it, but there we go. Put it back in there. Later on, I'm going to show you something, another cool feature with the markers here, which I don't have any markers in this song, but there's a really cool feature if you have markers already set with like your intros, verses, and stuff like that. If you have the song mapped out before you start recording it or whatever. So anyways, let's get back into this. So as soon as we have our drummer track here, as you'll notice, we have this whole thing down here, which is really cool. Very unique to Logic. I don't think there's any other software out there that is similar. There are third-party plugins like Easy Drummer and stuff like that, Addictive Drums, but this is kind of like a completely different software. It's really unique, because you could control things in I don't want to say bizarre ways, unique ways. That's the word I'm looking for. So by default, it just picked this half pipe. You know, it's just a default kit they threw in here, and it's about 120 beats per minute, which if your song is at a different tempo, it's going to give you a different drum beat. But let's just play this one real quick for you with the bass line, and we'll loop it at 8 bars, see what it sounds like. So it sounds pretty good as it is, just to get you going here, which is really cool. But let's say it's not what you're quite looking for, or we want to change it a bit. This little, they call it a hockey puck, or someone calls it a hockey puck. That's what people have been calling it. But you can move this slider around here, and as you can see, you can make the beat simple or more complex. You can make it soft or louder. And then we have other controls over here as well. We could take the kick drum out. We could take the snare out. We could, you know, change the hi-hat pattern, or take the hi-hat out, make the lead part a ride cymbal. Like, check this out. Or cymbals in general. Sometimes they're crash cymbals on rock music. Or we could throw a tom-tom beat in here. So pretty cool. And then we have percussion instruments. You could do a tambourine in there, shaker, hand claps. Let's go back to the hi-hat. So really cool. And we have different patterns. Each drummer has like different things going on, so we could change the clap pattern, if you the maraca pattern, a hi-hat pattern we could change. And then we have different kicks and snares. There's different options for the kick and snare. We could do halftime. Great for breakdown sections. We got a double time. Doesn't really work well with that bass part. And then we have a follow, which is really cool. And right now I only have one track in this session, which is the Liverpool bass MIDI. So we can have it, the kick and snare will follow that pattern. So let's check that out. Let's put the hi-hat back here. So really cool as well. And then we have this fill adjustment here. Now there's fills in here. They're typically every 4 bars, with the bigger fill being at the end of the 8 bar. But if, say, you want lighter fills, you could just adjust it like that. For example, we'll just play the last measure here. Adjust the fills. Kind of similar, but more. Kind of the same there. So they kind of get more intense the more you adjust this. Like this will be a big fill. So pretty cool. And also we have a swing feature here where we could swing the beat as well. Based on an 8th note fill or a 16th note fill here. And of course it doesn't really go with the bass part that much, so let's mute that real quick. So really cool. We're going to turn that off for the moment, put the bass back in. And now we can check out this part here. We have different presets as well. So let's go over here, crash the party. As you can see, it made it a little more complex, pretty much the same loudness. But let's check out that beat. Nice tom beat. Echo Park with the rides, with the cymbals, and a little more complex. And it's still following the Liverpool bass, but we'll turn that off. We don't want to follow. Hold on. There we go. Make it a little less busy. So it's really productive and quick and easy to get a nice drum beat going. But this is just scratching the surface here. All right, so let's take a look over to the left here, and we'll take a look at some of the different drummers. This is where things get really cool because there's so many different drummers. So this is, they all have names, of course, and it tells you a little, a little bit about them. Like Cal plays a pop rock hit here, and actually I believe this is the SoCal kit. Yeah, the SoCal kit right here. It's labeled. And it tells you, influenced by modern rock. You could read all these different things. There's different descriptions for every single one of them. And if you change drummer, as I'm doing right here, it says changing the drummer will replace changes you have made to the region settings on this track. To keep these changes, select keep settings when changing drummers in the preset pop-up menu in the drummer editor. All right, so basically what this means is there's a feature here. If you don't want to change the actual settings that you already made, like you want to keep these settings and just change the drummer, right down here, keep settings when changing drummers, keep drum kit while changing drummers. You get just 2 options here. So if you want the same drum kit, in the same option settings. For now, we're going to change them, but if you want to keep them the same, there's the option down here to keep that going. So let's check out a different drummer here, Logan. So change drummer. And we just generated a completely different pattern up here, different drum set and everything. And of course we could move this around and adjust the pattern. Pretty cool. So I'm not going to go through every single drummer here, but these are the rock drummers. We have, you know, the hard rock drummer, the retro rock drummer. We have a punk rock drummer. We have a funk rock drummer, and we have the Brit pop drummer. Let's check out the punk rock one real quick. You know, very hard hitting and such. And then we get the funk one here. So pretty cool. And then alternative side, we have an indie pop drummer, an indie disco drummer, indie rock, garage rock, modern 80s, synth pop. So let's check out the indie disco. And again, they each have names. This is Nikki, and they give you a little description. Inspired by the love of disco in the years as a DJ, Nikki plays bouncy, rock infused dance beats on a processed, hard-hitting kit. And we can enlarge this too if we want to get a better look at it. So pretty cool. Let's check out her. Very disco-ish. And then we have indie rock and so on and so forth. Now, let's say, and then let's go through these other ones real quick. So we got Levi. He's another funky drummer, funky songwriter on a different kit, of course. Pop singer, songwriter. Experimental songwriter. Roots. '60s songwriter. And we have brush kits as well, like a Roots brush kit. And we can slow down the tempo here a little bit. So really, really cool. And then we bust into the R&B, and we have 3 drummers here, Rose, Curtis. Let's speed him up a little bit. Motown. That's a cool beat. And of course, we have electronic as well. EDM, big room EDM. And of course, these are using electronic drum kits now. Speed that up a little bit. Tech house. One thing different about these ones, you can have multiple percussion things playing at once. So we'll just throw them all on real quick. And we got dubstep. Some more electric trap. Let's check out the trap beats. Slow it down. So really, really cool. And of course, we got hip hop. We got more trap here. Slow it down. Check out some presets. We got a hip hop drummer. And more. And then we also got percussion. So these are pretty cool too. Completely different style than the electronic kits and the acoustic kits. These are actually acoustic as well, but they're percussion. So we got the latch and percussion kit. Again, we could change, add some other stuff here. Take things out. We got a pop percussion from Quincy here. Speed this up a bit. Turn a bunch of these things on. And then we got Flynn. He plays a not Flynn, but Finn. He plays a Calhoun and stuff. Now, of course, we can mix a percussionist with a drummer. We'll just throw in another drummer up here. Let's throw in a, we'll do the R&B one. Actually, let's do the Songwriter one. So here we go. We got this one thrown up. And let's put the Liverpool bass back in there. And we'll have the drummer follow the Liverpool bass. And of course, the options are pretty much endless. So let's go back into like one of these pop percussionist players. And then we'll just have the... And we're going to change... Let's put experimental drummer on, see what happens. All right, cool. So we'll mute the bass here for temporarily. Now, here's some really cool things we can do. We can take the drummer here and we can change the drum kit. Now, right now, with this little blue triangle is pointing at the whole, this is the channel path here, the channel strip, if you will. And the drum kit is right here. And by the way, we could go in here and tweak just the drums as well. Say we want a different kick drum on this kit. Different snare drum. We could change the tuning of it and the dampening of the snare if we want. So that's really cool. That's the drum kit designer. Okay, so we have a bunch of options here to change the kit, change the sounds. We could go down here and kind of click on that little triangle there which says drum kit. And now we have the option down here to have the drum kit change. Still playing that same pattern, if you will. So we could go to the Blue Ridge drum kit. Sometimes they'll take a little long to load while you're playing. Check the Bluebird kit. Brooklyn kit. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just... Four on the floor kit. Liverpool kit. And you can see them change up here as well if we have this open. And there's a bunch of, different kits we got going on here. Now, another option we can do with this is right now we just have a stereo drummer going on right here. But we can change this to a multi-track if you really want to dissect the individual tracks, snare hits, kick drums, cymbals, overheads, and such. We're going to do that. We're going to show you that real quick. I'm going to go back up to the scientific setting here. Well, the setting, that's the name of it. Scientific method, that's the drum kit. If we go down to the drum kits here, we have these things called producer kits. And each one of these has a different producer kit that goes along with it. There's even some extra ones in here like the 8-bit and stuff like that. Let's check out an 8-bit acoustic kit. Now this is going to make it a multi-track kit, which is really cool because now we have this little arrow over here, this little triangle, and we can plop down. We have the overheads, the kick in microphone, kick out, snare top, snare bottom, and so on and so forth. Different rooms and stuff, leakage, all the different things you would have if you actually mic'd up a drum kit in a full studio. And of course, if you go to the mixer, you're going to have that all in your mixer as well. Right here, the 8-bit kit. There's a little triangle there. You could plop that out. And this one doesn't have too many effects on stuff on it, but there is a little bit here. This looks like all the effects are on the main channel here. And we'll take a listen to what that sounds like. 8-bit, you can pretty much imagine what it sounds like. Let's mute the percussion. So that's pretty cool. And then if we want to go back to the kit that we had, the scientific one, I mean, we could just go through here and check out what you want. Here's a hi-fi pop kit. And these do take a little longer to load. And of course, they're going to take up more CPU on your computer. That's why it's good to just use the stereo kits. And then when you want to go to mix down, if you really want to get in there and mangle things, you can do the producer kits. You can even bounce on the audio if you want to as well. Now, in the hi-fi pop kit, as you can see here, this is the stereo channel, the stereo bus. We have this little compressor on there, little EQ. If we open it up in the mixer, we have a lot more things going on each of the instruments. We have a kick-in mic, kick-out, and we have all these different settings here that you can play around with yourself and go to completely mad with that kind of stuff. But let's check out what it sounds like as it is. All right, so we could go back to the mixer here, and like I said, we can go into all these little details. Just the kick drums. We could change the settings here if we want to with the different things. Put big crushers on it, whatever you want to do. just go nuts. All right, so let's move on and look at some other things here. All right, so we have the 60 kit loaded right now, and this is just the regular stereo kit. And we have other details down here that we could play with as well. We have the feel of the beat, if we want to push it or pull it or push it. We have ghost notes, less or more. The hi-hat stuff here as well, automatically closed, open, all that good stuff. Play it with the bass track here. Kind of just playing with the feel of the beat there. And let's see the ghost notes. There's not really too many ghost notes in this pattern, so. And we have the hi-hat here, which is set to automatic for open and close settings. So really, really cool. Little additional details down there. And of course we have the same in the percussion track. This is a little different though for the percussion tracks. We have all this different complexity ranges of every instrument, which can be very beneficial if you're just trying to like really go crazy and tweak stuff to death. And we got humanized feature down here, phrase variations, really, really cool. Let's check it out. Some of the instruments we have turned off, so the humanized feature will make it less, you know, on the grid or whatever, less quantized. So again, you could go in here and just, you know, go nuts if you want to. So let's take a look at some other really cool things here. So we have our drummer track here. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, we have these arrangements, if you will. So if you have a song that you already have mapped out, you know what you're going to do here. This is a really cool feature because you could just go in here. Whoops, put a marker there. I'm just going to create an arrangement real quick. So we have an intro. We'll make that 4 bars. I'll just do it real quick without talking, speed up the video. All right, so here we have a little arrangement that I just busted out real quick and color coded and everything. We're gonna get rid of these drummers. Let's delete these. And now if I create a drummer track, it's gonna pre-populate the whole track with different sections for every part of this arrangement, which is really cool. So let's go in here, create a drummer, Songwriter, we'll just leave it Songwriter for now, create, and then we have this whole drum arrangement. And of course, it doesn't know your song, but it kind of gives you like things that you typically do in an intro and such, makes the choruses a little more powerful. So this can be really nice for quickly, you know, getting your song up and going. Now we're in the verse. I won't play the whole thing. We'll jump to the chorus. Ride cymbal percussion. And then the bridge. And then the outro. And of course, every one of these sections is fully customizable as well. So you don't want all those toms in the bridge, you can just change it to the cymbals. Like you can just highlight that section. And then we got a cymbal part, maybe you want hand claps. So really, really cool for a quick arrangement of a song if you already have the song mapped out in your head before you get going. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about here. And by the way, we can change these to electronic drum kits too. They don't have to be the acoustic kits. So that's another cool feature. And you would do that by going over to where the Bluebird kit is, where the library electronic drum kits. Go over here and let's do a the Crate Digger's a pretty cool one. Now sometimes the sounds are going to be a little bit different than you might expect, but intro groove, verse groove. And you can just go through a bunch of different kits just by changing it right here. As long as you have, you know, right here where that blue triangle is on the channel strip, that will change the whole strip, which is really cool. And of course you can go into the drum machine here. Oh, actually this is a multi-track machine. That's why I can't select it at the moment. There are alter beat samples here, which is you could all kind of different kits. You could, it's pretty much endless what you can do with this stuff. But, you know, we're not going to get into everything here. So let's actually go back to that electronic kit or the acoustic kit that we had. We're just going to undo. I think that's it. A couple more. Undo. And we're back to the drum kit we had for the acoustic drum kit. All right, so let's talk about these little regions here and what we can do with them, because they're not quite MIDI. They kind of look like audio waveforms, but they technically are MIDI. And here's a few things that we can do. Now, let's create another track real quick here. The software instrument. We can have this actually, if you have like Easy Drummer or something, you could actually have the drummer control the Easy Drummer, which is really, really cool. And the way you would do that is just select all these regions here. Well, that turns it to MIDI. So you just drag, I just hit the option and selected those parts and dragged them down. And that creates a MIDI track of the drummer track on a different channel there. So that you can see here, if you want to go in there, edit a fill or something, you know, what have you. You have basically all the MIDI data there, which is really cool as well. And so if we do shift and option and select these parts and drag it down, then you're going to have basically a mirror of whatever this data is up here. Now I don't have another drummer in here at the moment loaded up, another MIDI instrument, but if you put like Easy Drummer in there or something, you can have it control these parts here. Just click on your verse, for example. Whatever you change here is going to change down in this green region in your data, because it's just kind of mirroring it. You can see why there's little arrows there. Let me enlarge this. So basically, it's just mirroring whatever's going on up here. So that's a really cool option as well. If you really want to get crazy, I do that sometimes with Easy Drummer. If I need a beat real quick. Of course, Easy Drummer is a really good program in itself, but this is just an option that you have as well. Now, let's get rid of that. And we can actually turn these in the MIDI regions up here and lock them in, if you will. And basically, you just do a right click and convert drummer to MIDI region, and then you just have MIDI there. Now, this is great if you want to change a part or something, like, you know, like the fill, drum fill, let's say. Of course, that's a very basic fill. Maybe you want to write some other notes in here. You can do it that way. Now, if you want to record your own drums, you cannot actually, I could play these notes on my keyboard, MIDI keyboard, from the drummer. But you notice there's no record button over here. I'd have to actually select this drum kit I could go over to the MIDI instrument. That's the Bluebird kit, if you will. And you can go in the drum kit, and there is the Bluebird kit. It's pretty much the same thing, and then I could record my own drums down here if you want to do it with a MIDI keyboard. But since this is the drummer, it's on its own little track here, and it does, you know, what it does, and it does it very well. So that's a couple other things to keep in mind. So a few other things we got going on here that we can look at. Say you want to, now I only have one instrument up here playing the bass riff, obviously, but I could select all the drummer tracks. Now this one's obviously not, because let's actually get rid, oops. Let's get rid of that and write it in another drummer track. If I want to control all these at once, for example, I just select, see how they're all selected there? Well, now individually, if I go over here, now I have the whole track selected. Just click on one of them. And then I want to say, okay, well, I want these all to follow the bass line of whatever the bass line is up here. And obviously different parts of your song will probably have a different bass line that changes, and it'll just change with all of them. And of course you can audition them and see what you like. And like, see, just turn them all on. So all these just changed. And so if we go to this one, it's following the bass. That one's following the bass, and so on and so forth. But you can see everything else stayed the same as far as the fill levels and stuff like that. And of course, if you have other instruments in here, let's say you want the drummer to follow a different track. Right now there's just these Bluebirds in here, but you could have it follow the guitar track. You could have it follow whatever you want, whatever track you want, or just leave the pattern as it is. It's pretty much endless tweaking of stuff, but it's you don't even have to do a lot of tweaking if you just know what your vibe of your song is and what you're looking for as far as the drummer sound and everything like that. But for that, extra additional going crazy with everything, that's where that all comes in handy. All right, so let's take a closer look at some of these electronic kits and some other things, the drum machine designer and the channel strip of the drummer, and we'll take a look at the smart controls as well. So this is just the default hip hop drum kit that I loaded up here, and we have a beat like so. So pretty cool right off the bat. And of course we have the same controls down here for other instruments and things like that. We can make adjustments, different kick and snare. There's different presets down here as well. Now the drum machine is a little bit different than the acoustic drums, obviously, because it's a drum machine. But we have the same controls, kick, snare, hi-hat, filter, display, all this stuff. And we can actually replace these samples up here as well if we want to. So what you do, it's like, say, the kick drum here. You'll notice over here on the left, we have all these kick drums now that we can go through. Right, and this is the Beat Machine drum kit, but we could change the kit here, or the kick. Just by selecting it right there. Same thing with the snare drums. Click on the snare. As you see over here, now we have all these different snare drums that we can choose from, and hi-hats, cymbals, tom-toms, claps, shakers, and so on and so forth. So a lot of really cool stuff we can do there as well. And we have more percussion and stuff over here. And then we have like empty slots. And then the mixer down here, over here we have group delay, reverbs, controls, and so on and so forth. Nice high cut. And we can do that. Now, what I'm controlling there with those are all these different plugins that are already in here. We have a compressor. We have an audio filter. and a bunch of other ones that we got down here. Now we can also hit, if you're on, have this instrument selected, the drummer, hit the B key command, and you get those controls down here as well for the drum kit without the sample pads. So we have the sends, we have an EQ as well. As you can see, that's what I adjusted. I believe that was this one here, the high pass filter. It's actually changing the EQ curve. See how it changed there? So it's kind of a way to, they call them smart controls. It's kind of a way just to control everything simple with a simplified, you know, procedure here, if you will. Then we got volume and stuff for the kicks and snares and all that good stuff. And we got low pass filters and reverb. Distortion. Of course, you can turn that off as well, on or off. So a lot of really cool stuff with these, and the same thing works with the dance kits, electronic music, and of course these ones too are like the channel strip kits. So if you go into the mixer, or if you want to mute the kick drum, mute the snare. And we can go into the mixer down here, and then we have all the channel strips for each instrument, individual instrument. We'll unmute these. So like, for example, on the snare channel here, we have some fuzz wall we can throw on there. And we have other plugins in Logic that you can throw on here as well. You just click on those right there. So it's really in depth. You could do a lot of really cool things with these drummers and in your mixing and stuff like that. You close that little arrow down here and you put it into a stereo bus. So yeah, a lot of really, really cool stuff with these Logic drummers. A lot of really cool stuff. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below. I'll try to answer them. And check out my other videos. I have hundreds of videos in my back catalog, but I also got like a bunch of tutorials on Logic and such. I'll be making more in the future. And let me know, if you have any questions. And that's all for now, and I will talk to you soon.